Hello creative friends, this is Joy. So this week I have an art journal page that I decided to do where I had a picture of this cheetah and then I had a picture of like a cactus flower that I wanted to put on this page and then this suitcase. And so I pull out my journal that I made and I'm sketching the cheetah on my page so that that and the flower, that both of them I'm going to sketch on the page and then paint them on the page, and the little suitcase I'm going to actually just add to the page. I'm not going to try to paint that on the page. So I'm just doing a quick sketch of this cheetah, trying to figure out the placement on my page where I want it to be, and making sure that it's got the right shapes and forms and all that. And then decided that I was going to put this flower in like this bottom left hand corner. So I'm just kind of doing a quick sketch of where I want that flower to be, which would be there in the lower left corner with a couple little pods coming off the flower. The flower has some kind of pods on it. And then the little suitcase is going to go on the picture. And so once I get the cheetah sketched on my page, then I decide I'm going to use some watercolor paints to paint the cheetah. And I've been wanting to use more watercolor paints, and so that's what I decided to use on this cheetah. But you'll see here in a little bit, it was probably not the best choice. I really like the way that the cheetah came out, or how it was painted with the watercolors. But a couple issues I was having is this paper was really soaking up the paint, so that made it a little bit difficult to spread or even to blend, because it just was soaking it right up. But I did manage to work through all of that and get the cheetah painted. But the second issue that I had with using the watercolor is you'll see here towards the end, after I get it all painted like I wanted it, I decided that there was a couple of areas that needed to be lightened and a couple of areas that needed to be darkened, and I just completely made a big mess of it. So you will see that. I was going to cut all that out, but I left all that in. So it was disappointing. I mean, there was a point here where I should have just stopped and called it done, but I tried to do more. And of course, watercolor, once it gets wet again, is reactivated, and it just made a big mess. But I did end up fixing it. I actually was frustrated with the page, set it aside for a couple of weeks, and then did come back to it and decided, look, I just need to finish this. And I really like the way the face turned out and all. So I ended up trying to preserve as much of the face, but so basically I ended up painting this cheetah twice. So the second time, which you'll see here in a minute after I just about ruined the whole thing, I decided to come in with acrylic paint. And the acrylic paints, I think works better, because if you want to go back over areas to try to lighten or darken them, of course the acrylic paint doesn't reactivate once it's dried. And there I dropped my paintbrush and smeared black on my page. So yeah, I figured, well, that'll cover it. We'll just get that to cover it. I mean, I could have got some white paint or white gesso to try to cover it up, but I figured, well, I'd cover it with the little suitcase. So I'm putting all of these, spots on this cheetah, and I'm getting to the point where I should have just called it done, but I did not. Um, like I said, I decided that that some areas need to be lightened and some areas need to be darkened, and here I'm trying to lighten it, but instead it's reactivating the black and just making mud, and then now here I'm just like saying the heck with it. That all needs to be darker, but then the black is reactivating and making mud. So then for some reason I'm like, maybe if I get the white from the Posca pen and that just smears it even more. So yeah, it was very frustrating because at this point I'm like, forget it. And so I finally come back to a couple weeks later. I'm like, I am determined, that I'm going to finish this page. I really was excited about doing this page, and then, I got so frustrated with it. So I grabbed my acrylic paints and I'm like, we're going to do this. And I start using it to go over the watercolor paints. And it was still reactivating the black, so I was still getting, some black in there where I didn't want it to be so dark, and so I'm trying to just work with it and add more paint to try to get it lighter in the areas that I want it lighter, and adding some of the other colors like yellow and oranges in there, and trying to get it to, you know, to where, I'm happy with it. And in the end, I am happy with it. I had to fuss with it for a bit, to get it to where I was happy with it. And eventually, the um, acrylic paints did cover over the watercolor, so I was able to, like I said, get it to a point where I was at least happy with it. But yeah, it was frustrating, and I'm trying to preserve as much of the face as I can, but at the same time trying to add some of this acrylic paint so it doesn't look like that the body is, separated from the head, you know, um, so that it looks like it's all kind of one animal here. Um, so I'm continuing to work back and forth. I've got like a burgundy, and I've got an orange and a yellow and a black and white, and I'm using, of course, the black and the white to darken and lighten, areas, lighten where white to lighten areas I think should be lighter, and black to darken areas I think should be darker. I'm even, you'll see me kind of mixing the black into the burgundy to make it a little bit darker for areas that should be shadowed. But yeah, so this was, it's been a while since I've struggled so much with trying to paint something. So it was a bit frustrating, but I was glad that I worked through it, and that I finished this, getting this done, because I really, like I said, was excited about the concept of the page, and painting this cheetah, and was, disappointed when, the first try it just was ended up a muddy mess. So yeah, it turned out pretty good in the end, so that made me happy. So I'm sure you guys, or well, maybe you have or have not, have heard, but YouTube has decided to change their rules about video creators where they are not monetizing or allowing you to monetize if you have less than 1,000 subscribers and less than 4,000 hours, or is it hours or minutes? I guess it's minutes. 4,000 minutes of view time over the last year. I have more than enough view time, but not enough subscribers, so they will stop allowing me to monetize my videos, which is a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, it's negligible. I mean, you don't make any money anyway off of monetization. The purpose of me doing videos to start with were to share my art with all of you. I don't have anybody in my life that is artistic, and so I wanted to, for a long time I didn't really do much with my art because I'm like, what's the point? Nobody sees it. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's lots of people online to share with, to, see what they're doing, to show them what I'm doing. I mean, there's a whole community out there that I can be a part of, and that's what I've been doing, and I've, really been enjoying being a part of the art community online and on YouTube. But it just is a little bit frustrating because it's almost like, well, it makes you feel like that all of what you've been doing doesn't really matter or make a difference. So I guess that's kind of the frustrating part. But I'll continue to do art and continue to share that with all of you. And I've been debating on whether to maybe take a break or cut back some. Just so much is going on right now in my life that it's just I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. But so if it gets to be too overwhelming with work and everything, I may, like I said, either take a break or cut back on the number of videos, because it is a lot of work to create these videos, edit these videos, narrate the videos, get them posted. Sometimes it gets really frustrating trying to get them posted on YouTube, because then it seems like that everybody else is on there too at the same time, and I've had quite a few instances where it would lock up or it would like just take forever. It can be frustrating, but we'll see. I'm trying to stay positive and trying to stay motivated. I don't want to give up on, being artistic and doing creative things. I mean, I enjoy it. I just don't want it to get to a point where I feel like, that it's, causing me a lot more stress, or that it's like a second job, or that it's another thing, another chore that I have to do when I come home. So, it's supposed to be fun, and I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it to where I'm just, having fun and enjoying the process and of creating and sharing and all of that stuff. So, yeah, enough about all that. I as you can see on this, I got my spots in. I've got my coloration in. I'm much happier with the cheetah at this point. I've preserved a lot of the face as well as I could, and you can see here. See, now I'm going over it, trying to add in a little bit more shading, and it doesn't smear everything that I already had put on here. I can do like a watered down color and go over areas that I want to make darker or lighter, and have it to where it's you could still see what's underneath. But you'll see that me do that here in a minute with the white. I kind of water down the white because I'm like, well, these areas here, like here, they need to be lighter. So I'm going over those areas with a thin layer of the white, and it lightens up those areas, but you can still see the spots and all that I put underneath in the coloring. So yeah, acrylic paints to me are easier to work with than watercolors, and maybe this isn't the real right or correct um, type of way of using watercolor paints. I do want to I want to use watercolors more, but I need to, I guess, use them in a different way than doing these art journal pages. Or I've used them on art journal pages before where they were very successful, but for this particular one it just wasn't working. So I was really glad that I worked through um, you know getting this completed, because I really liked the way that it turned out. So here I'm just using the same paints that I used on the cheetah to paint this flower on my page, and it ends up darker, I guess, than what's in the picture, but that's okay. I was, fine with it and happy with it. And here I'm using darker colors to kind of put some shadowing on this flower around the inside and bottom where it would be, shadowed. And then the center I saw kind of had like a white, and then the stamen with little um, pollen things on top of it. But then, of course, as I'm painting the center, I realized that it's not really white, so I end up having to correct that. But I'm using here's some the green to do these little pods and get those painted on there. And then I'm trying to add some shadowing and highlight to those. And then I go in and finish up the center of the flower. And again, I should have, instead of using straight white, I should have grayed it down, because it really isn't a white white, it's a gray white, because there's shadow on it. But I do, like I said, fix that. So I should have also put that little suitcase aside. I don't know why I left it on my page, because you'll see here in a minute that it gets in my paint. And so yeah, another another accident, excuse me, about to happen here. So I'm painting in, trying to get this, these the middle here painted to, look similar. Yep, there we go. Paint all over the suitcase. Okay, we're gonna put that aside now. To kind of make it, I guess, look like what's in the picture. And then here I decided, okay, that white isn't that white. It needs to be gray. So I get it as close as I can to the picture, so that's all that you can do, is just try to get it as close as you can. And I think it was close enough. I was happy with it. Like I said, in the end, I was really happy with the way this whole page turned out. So once I get all that painted, I decided to put this suitcase down on the page. And then I decided to get my Posca pens so that I can do some, outlining on this. And then I realized that there's should be some shadowing underneath that flower in the suitcase, so I'm trying to make a darker color so I can, do some shadowing or whatever underneath those items so they're not just kind of sitting there and floating in midair. And I go around the suitcase and the flower a little bit with that darker color. Which I guess I could have put this on there before, but I didn't really think about it until this point. And then I decided to use my Posca pens. Oh, I felt like that his eyes needed some highlights, and it's hard to get like just a tiny bit, on his of highlights on the eyes and the nose without being too much. And then I used the Posca pens to outline the suitcase, and then to do some more work on the flower, to add a little bit more to that. But this pretty much is the art journal page that I did for today. Hope you guys like it. If you like this video, you can give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit the subscribe button, or you can leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Like I said, I really enjoy doing art and sharing my art with all of you. I'm not affiliated with any products or anything like that, so I don't make any money off of any of this. I don't make any money off of my art at all. It's just something that I enjoy doing, and like I said, just to keep me creating and being artistic, and that makes me happy. So just like to do this just to continue to be creative, because again, for a long time I was not. So I hope you guys liked the video, and hope you come back and see more of my videos, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.